Hello and welcome to this introductory Pilates session which forms part of the University of Worcester's Staff Development Wellbeing Programme. My name is Richard Dilworth and I'm the Operational Manager for the McLaren Centre. These sessions are aimed for those of you who are working or studying from home and can be undertaken at any time. Like all physical activity sessions, if you had a recent injury, illness, or you have an underlying medical condition that could be made worse by exercise, you might want to speak to your GP before you start. This is a basic introduction to Pilates, so the level of intensity is quite low. We use what's called an RPE, how hard does the exercise feel, and on a scale of 1 to 10, this is going to feel at a level 2 to 3, so it should feel quite light and quite easy. The important thing for you is to work through is comfortable a range of motion. We're going to be going through our alignment, and you're going to be challenging your ability to maintain your alignment as you move. So the first thing to do is to make sure that you set yourself up. I've got a mat I'm working with. You might want to do something similar if you've got one, but if you haven't got a mat, use a towel or something that you can sit on. And the reason that we're using the mat is partly for comfort and also because you're going to use it to line yourself up. So if you've got a mat or something you put your heels against, you want to put your heels against it so that your feet are level in line. If you have a little look at either side of whatever you're sat on, you want to check your pelvis looks about the same distance from the edge of it. And you're going to have your feet roughly 10 sport width apart, so between your heels, your toes and your knees, you want to roughly have a 10 sport. So you're lining up your ankles, your knees and your hip joint. Now if that feels uncomfortable, please move your feet around a little bit to find a more comfortable position, but ideally that's where we're working. So you can use your hands, bring your bottom a little bit closer to your heels if you can, and then use your hands just to carefully take yourself onto the floor. If you've got something to put under your head, you pop it underneath your head. Now, I've got a couple of cushions here, but they're a bit too thick, so really we just want a cushion so that when it's at the back of your head, you just feel your neck dropping into the gap between the cushion and the floor, and we imagine soft peach, something just sat there between your chin and chest. So if I had both those cushions a bit squashed, if they weren't thick enough, you'd be rolling away. So in that position, my head's more or less in line with the spine. So I've checked that my feet and knees are the correct distance apart, and then I need to check that my pelvis is in the right position. So I've checked that either side of the mat it's about right. And then I want to check that it's balanced. First of all, forward and back. So there's some pelvic bones at the top of the pelvis here, and your pubic bone, which is at the bottom of the pelvis, which is roughly in line with the crease between your thighs and your pelvis. They want to be about level in line if we're looking at it horizontally now. So what you're going to do is you're just going to rock your pelvis back and then tilt the pelvis forward. Imagine a marble rolling from your belly button towards your toes. So you're rocking your pelvis back and forth, a bit like a rocking horse or a rocking chair, but eventually you're going to find somewhere balanced. And that marble now is sat about 2 inches below your belly button. And underneath the lower part of the back you have a little gap, a natural arch, and you should have that there. Similarly, those pelvic bones should be level right side to side, so we allow the pelvis to rock from one side to the other. So eventually you find the pelvis, like seats on a seesaw, coming to a rest, are level in line. If you've done the seated exercise session, you know we sit on sit bones, knobbly bits at the bottom of the pelvis. You send one away and then the other, so it's like having drawstrings at the side of the body. So you lengthen one side of your body, then the other, but eventually you want to find somewhere where that is balanced and level in line. So in that position, the base of the spine is resting on the floor, it's almost anchored to your mat. We have the natural hollow in the lower part of the back. Because you've got this cushion at the back of your head, your ribs will sink gently into the mat in between your shoulder blades. Have your arms lengthening away down by your side. Feel the weight of your arms and shoulders melting into the floor. Let your neck drop into that gap still between the cushion and the floor, and let your head sink into whatever's underneath it. Smooth out the muscles of the face, so there's no real tension around your eyes, your jaw, your mouth, and find a comfortable position for your tongue and your mouth. So you're not holding on to any unnecessary tension, particularly in your throat, so you can breathe freely and easily into the front, the side and the back of the ribs. The ribs need to expand as you breathe in. And when you breathe out, squeeze all the air from your lungs. And if it's a forceful enough out breath, you'll feel that when you breathe out, your belly button falls to your spine. You're engaging muscles deeper in your lower abdomen. You're going to use them to maintain the alignment of your pelvis and keep their natural curves running through your spine. So we're just going to start to loosen off the shoulders with something called a shoulder shrug. So as you breathe in, you lift one shoulder up towards your ear and lengthen your arm by your side. It's like you're expanding a little spring when you breathe in and lift that shoulder up, and compressing it as you draw your arms to your side. You do both shoulders at the same time. Feel that sense of length at the back of your neck. And then we lengthen both arms down by your side, that's where they stay. Melt your shoulders onto the floor, and then raise your arms up and over the chest. And then breathe in to scoop and lift one shoulder off the mat, then the other. And it's as if a thin thread pulls your hand towards the ceiling, it gets cut, and you just drop your shoulder into the mat. Then you can start to look through the corner of your eye, let your head roll in that direction, let your shoulder move in the direction that you're rolling your head, and then you let your arm follow in that direction. So you're putting a bit more space between the shoulder blades as you reach across the body, and then feel that release of tension each time you drop your shoulders back to the mat. Let's do both shoulders at the same time. Let it flow with your breath. And then do the same thing as we did before. Start to look to one side, let your head roll in that direction, let your shoulders roll in that direction, and let both arms move in that direction. And if you roll your chin slightly towards your shoulder, your nose forms a little figure of 8 on the ceiling. And your hands can trace that. So we get a little rotation, a little figure of 8 through the upper part of the body. You can reverse it and go the other way. The lower part of the body at the moment is staying in a stable, balanced position. It stays where it is. And then eventually come to the centre and allow those shoulders to melt into the floor. As you breathe in, bring your arms to your side. Breathe out. Raise both arms out behind you. Breathe in to bring them back. Breathe out just before you move to make sure you've engaged the muscles deep in the abdomen to help maintain the position of your pelvis. So you're squeezing the air from the lungs, closing your ribcage down. So the ribs don't flare as you raise your arms. You keep all those natural curves running through your spine. We'll do it one more time with both arms. And the next time it's just one arm at a time. Keeping the hand level and in line with your shoulder. So the ribs stay soft. You breathe out just before you move. So make sure you're engaging those muscles deep in your abdomen. Leave the arms alone. And as you breathe out, slide one leg out along the floor. Breathe in to pull it back. Breathe out to slide the other leg out along the floor. So as pelvic bones and pubic bones stay level in line. You engage the core to maintain the alignment of the pelvis. To keep the natural curve in the lower part of the back. To maintain your stability in the lunge as you move 2 more. We'll do it one more before we add the arm movements that we did earlier on. So as you slide your leg out along the floor this time, raise both arms back into the space behind you without changing your alignment. Do it one more time with both arms. So do it one arm at a time. Opposite arm to opposite leg. We call these starfishes. Reaching through the fingers. Reaching to the toes. 4 more. We still maintain our alignment as we move. 2 to go. The base of your spine is still resting on the floor, your pelvis anchored to the mat. When you've done this last one, raise both arms up level with your chest as you breathe in. Turn the palms and hands to face each other. Breathe out to do some arm flies. Drop both arms out to the side. Put more space between your fingertips. The shoulders stay connected to the floor. 4 more. So bring space between your collarbones. Lower with control. It doesn't matter if you don't quite touch the floor without lifting the shoulders. When you've done this last one, bring your arms up, bring them to the side. And take a breath, and as you breathe out, let one knee gently drop out to the side without changing the position of your pelvis. So your pelvis stays anchored to your mat. So we call these knee drops. Dropping one knee out, then the other. We do it without letting the pelvis drop. One more time before we combine the arm and leg movement. So breathe in, raise both arms up level the chest, turn the palms and hands to face each other, do some arm flies with that knee drop. Then if you want to challenge yourself a little bit more, do one arm and the opposite leg. So it's an arm fly with the knee drop. opposite arm to opposite leg. You could look in the direction of your knee drop and let your head roll, all the while maintaining the alignment of your pelvis. 2 more. When we've done this last one, drop your arms back to your side. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, fold up with one knee. Breathe in to put the foot down. It's as if you're allowing your hip to drop into your hip joint. It's folding that hip up without changing the position of your pelvis. You add a little bit of what's called hip turnout, so the hip follows the natural shape of your hip joint. Relaxing the shoulders, there's no gripping with them. Now you can do that again. Fold up one knee, put the hand on the knee. As you breathe in, fold up the other knee. Breathe out to put one foot down. Breathe in to put the other foot down. Alternate which leg you lead with. You don't have to. Hold onto your foot. Hold onto your leg rather. And if you want to change yourself a little bit more, fold both knees up. At the same time, again without changing the alignment of your pelvis. So you've got a little hip turn out, it brings the feet together, and knees in line with the shoulders. You'll do it one more time, then place one foot back to the floor, keep the other leg in the air. As you breathe in, bring that leg slightly across the body, and as you breathe out, take that leg around in a circle. And if you find that a little challenging, you can use your hand for support just to take that leg around. You can change direction, go the other way. Keeping your pelvis in that stable, balanced position. 2 more. When you've done this last one, place that foot back to the floor. Fold up the knee, breathe in to bring the leg across the body. Breathe out to take that leg around in a circle. The supporting leg just stays where it is, the ankle, knee and hip joint still all in line, change direction. So you suck the leg in, breathe out to blow it away. There'll be a little bit of movement through the pelvis, that marble's rolling ever so slightly around a small clock face on your lower abdomen. Place that foot to the floor. So we've just been working on maintaining your stability for your pelvis. Now we're going to want to move the pelvis a little, but still done with control. So we're going to start to mobilise your spine. We're going to do what's called some spine curls. So I'll move my pelvis a little bit further towards my heels. So if you just shift your bottom further down the mat, check before you start the pelvis is still in a balanced position. Then you can keep the cushion at the back of the head if you wanted to begin with, but if you find you start squashing your chin onto your chest, maybe put the cushion away. So think of that little marble, take a breath in, as you breathe out, roll it towards your belly button and start to peel the spine up off the floor, up towards the base of your shoulder blades where you hold it, and take a breath in. Then breathe out, and roll your spine to the floor a vertebrae at a time. Do this with care if you've got any issues with the lower part of the back. So first of all, breathe out to roll that marble back towards your belly button. Start to squeeze with your glutes and lift each vertebrae one at a time. So at the moment we're only moving on the out breath. Holding it. Deep breath in. Roll your spine to the floor. But this time, if you want, breathe out as you come up. Breathe in to return to the floor. Feel the weight of your body going forward into your toes. Shoulders stay relaxed. We keep a sense of length at the back of the neck. And those pelvic bones come up level and in line. When you've done that last one, allow your pelvis to rest onto the floor. You can place your hands on your thighs, bring them across the chest, or clasp the hands together and put them at the back of the head for light support. We do not pull on the neck. All we have is a sense of length at the back of the neck. You could take your hands away if you wanted to. So, if you are pushing your hands at the back of the head, be able to see your elbows through the corner of your eyes so you're not forcing the arms back or bringing them too far forward. Tuck the chin in, take a breath in to prepare, And as you breathe out, slide your hips towards the top of the pelvis. As you breathe in, like we did the spine curl, you can roll to the floor. So you just feel your ribs slide towards the top of the pelvis, which stays in that anchored position. So we maintain the alignment of the pelvis and the pubic bone. So there's no pulling on the neck. You could take your hands away in your head and stay in that position. If that is too challenging, you could put your hands across your chest, or you would slide your hands towards your knees. 2 more. We'll do 1 more. We'll return to this with some rotation in a few moments. You could put your small cushion under your head, take your arms out to the side, bring your feet and knees together. Then take a breath in, and as you breathe out, roll one leg over the other before you breathe in and put everything back to the centre. When you roll the one leg over the other, you still maintain the alignment of the natural curve in the lower part of the back. So you keep your belly button drawn to your spine. Now if you want to change yourself a little bit more, bring both arms up over the chest, and as you breathe out, you do your arm fly, you breathe in, and come back to the centre. All the while keeping both shoulders connected to the floor. And you can do an arm fly with one arm and your hip rolls in the opposite direction. And like we did with those knee drops, you could look in the direction of your hip roll and let your head roll in that direction. So by reaching through the arm out to the side and rolling the other way, you get a little stretch in your neck. One more time. When you've done that last one, heels back against the edge of the mat if they weren't there. Clasp the hands together, maybe push your cushion to one side. Let's go back to those ab curls. Do that little imprint of the lower part of the back into the mat. 2 more, so we can lift the shoulders away from the floor, and then next time we do it, add rotation to the upper part of your body as we pull the one shoulder across the body and drop the opposite shoulder into your mat. So we've added rotation to your abdominal curl-ups. Feel your ribs sliding across the body. Use your eyes, look where you want to turn. The upper part of the body 2 more times. Do it 1 more time. When you've done this last one, roll over onto your side and then move to the back of the mat. Now you can use both your cushions if you've got them, or thicker cushions if you've got them. We'll have half of them in contact with whatever you have underneath you, and the other half away. An arm out in front of you, both legs out in line with the front corner of the mat, and then we're propped up on the outside of your arm, so we're not collapsing into the floor, so you've got a sense of length through the waist. Now if you've got your shoulder and your pelvis at the back of the mat, looking at the front of whatever you're lying on, your breastbone and pubic bone should be about the same distance from it. So that way we're lining the spine up. Those pelvic bones are stacked one on top of the other, and your pelvic bone and pubic bone are in line, so we're in that balanced position we were in before. And then from there, as you breathe in, turn back and pull on an imaginary bow, and then breathe out to shoot an arrow. So pull that elbow back into the space behind you. Slowly take the hand further away from you without lifting your shoulders on the floor off it or raising the arms. We go into what's called an arm opening. You can breathe in to turn back, out to go forward. So the pelvis and the legs stay where they are. We're just getting that good rotation through the upper part of the body. And then if you're okay with that, next time we're going into what's called a chalk circle. Now you can do this with a long lever, where we keep the arms straight. If you find that's too challenging, you simply bend the elbow and circle the shoulder, change the direction. So if that's okay and you want to work harder, you extend that lever. You still maintain the alignment of your pelvis. Keep the natural curves running through your spine. One more time. When you've done that last one, you're going to bend both knees and bring your heels back in line with the bottom. And we're going to do what's called the oyster. You can keep your hands together or hand in front for a bit of support. So as you breathe out, you turn the hip out and lift that top knee up you breathe into lower. So you keep your pelvic bones stacked, one on top of the other, a sense of length in your waist. So you're breathing out to go away, in to return. And then if you want to challenge yourself a little bit more, the next time you do it, you turn the bottom hip out as well, and that will lift both feet slightly off the floor. So we're still lifting that top knee off the bottom knee, we're rolling both hips out, so the bottom knee feels like it's turning into the floor, the top knee towards the ceiling, so you bring space into your hip joint. We're squeezing with the glutes one more time. When you've done this last one, rest the top leg in line with the front corner mat, straighten that bottom leg down below you. If you can, adjust the height of your cushion so it's slightly lower, so it feels like your head is dropping slightly over your shoulder. With your hand either in front or on your side for support. As you breathe in, lengthen and lift that bottom leg up, and if your hand's on the outside of your thigh, reach for that ankle of the leg you're lifting, so you feel that sense of length through the side closest to the floor. So we're just straightening up. So we're breathing in to come up and out to lower, squeezing with that inner thigh. As you reach for the ankle, you drag your shoulder away from the ear, and that's dragging your head off your cushion. We'll do it one more time. And then when you've done that last one, simply push yourself up and turn yourself around, so we can do the same on the other side. So if you've got two cushions, you might want to use them, or you just have a slightly smaller cushion or a towel or something under your head if you want to try and keep your head in line with your spine. So have both legs out in line with that front corner of whatever you're lying on. You're lining yourself up with it, the pubic bone and pelvic bone, propped upon the outside of the arm. Breathe in to pull the elbow back, breathe out to shoot that elbow. Look at the elbow, look where you want to send that hand. Reaching back into the space behind you, breathing out to bring it forward. So if you can lengthen that lever and make it a full arm opening, you reach right back into that space behind you. And again, you're keeping your pelvic bones stacked, one on top of the other. The waist is long. We'll do it one more time, and then you've got those short circles with that long lever or short lever. If we're adding rotations with the upper part of the body, you can keep your hand almost at shoulder height without changing the alignment of the rest of the body. So you've got to keep your core engaged. Change direction, go the other way. So those chalk circles. Make those circles as big as you can. Two more. The arm that's on the floor stays where it is. One more time. Bend both knees, heels in line with the bottom, hands together or hand in front. As you breathe out, you turn the hip out, you squeeze with the glutes. You do that oyster, you put space into your hip joint. You keep that sense of length in your waist, so your pelvic bones are still stacked, one on top of the other. Your belly button drawn to your spine, and we can roll that bottom hip out to lift both feet at the same time. So the heels come up in line with your spine. Send your knees away from you, open your hips. Maintain your alignment as you move. One more time. When you've done this last one, straighten that top leg in line with the front corner mat, lengthen that bottom leg down below you, and then from there, as you breathe in, with the hand perhaps on the outside of your thigh and with a slightly smaller cushion under your head, you breathe in to straighten up, breathe out. So as you reach for the ankle, it drags your shoulder away from your ear, and that helps lift your head off the cushion. One more time. When you've done that last one, we're going onto your front. Now, if you have got something, a small thin cushion or a pillow to lie on, you might want to put it at the bottom of your mat, because you're going to use it to check that your pelvic bones across the waistband and your pubic bone at the bottom of the pelvis have the same pressure front and back, so the pelvis isn't tilting too far forward or back. It doesn't matter if you haven't got it there, you can try and sense where that is. So you're trying to feel there's the same pressure there. And we're going to have the tips of your little fingers together and elbows out to the side, so that you can rest your head on your hands. So in front of you, just in front of your nose, you imagine a little marble. Before we move, take a deep breath in, and when you breathe out, just feel your belly button drawn to your spine, so that it's going to provide some protection and maintain the natural curve in the lower part of the back. Then as you breathe out again, feel your shoulders being gently drawn away from your ears. And as your shoulder blades slide into the centre of the back, that tension you can feel in the middle of the back, you then use just to extend the upper part of the spine. So we're just getting that extension. So we're not hyperextending, we're not gripping into the lower part of the back, we're just extending the spine. If that's okay, next time you do it, you can keep one hand in contact with the forehead, as if you were saluting. And if you want to, you can lift the elbow off the floor at the same time. Pulling that elbow out to the side. So you've got to engage the core a little bit more now, so we're not gripping with the lower part of the back. And if you really want to change yourself a little bit more, the next time you do it, you can lengthen lift the leg on the opposite side of the body a few centimetres from the floor to check that your pelvis is in that balanced position, the same pressure across those pelvic bones as there is on the pubic bone. We maintain our alignments as we move. One more time. When you've done this last one, push yourself up into a kneeling position to do a cat curl. So we're going to start off with a basic cat curl with the fingers just off the front of the mat, the toes off the back of it, and you're pushing yourself away from the floor. So we're not collapsing between the arms. Your head is in line with the spine. Now we think about the tailbone at the very base of the spine. So as you breathe out, you're going to send your tailbone towards your ankles, towards the floor. As you start to then flex the spine a vertebrae at a time, and then as you breathe in, reverse that. And your head will come back in line with your spine. So you're going to breathe out, send your tailbone away, work to the lower part of that, middle, upper part of the back of the head, and then reverse it, and return to that starting position. So, breathe out to flex, breathe in to extend. Now, the next time you do that, perhaps you start to sit back slightly onto the heels as you breathe out. And breathe in to extend the spine as we come forward. So we're trying to get as much length through the spine as you can. Relaxing the shoulders one more time. And when you've done this last one, you're going to put your cushion back where it was, if you've got one. It doesn't matter if you haven't got it. You're going to come lie back on your front. You can turn your head to one side. Instead of having your hands under your head, you're going to have your arms by your side. Now to get some openness through your hips, because we need to keep the hips open, bend both knees, bring your heel to your bottom, let your knees slide up out to the edge of the mat, and let your feet drop out onto the floor. And then roll the heels in towards one another. We're almost bringing them together. And then as you breathe in, roll your shoulders back and down to bring your head up in line with your spine. And then breathe out to lower your head back to the floor, look the other way. So we can breathe in to extend the spine, still keeping the belly button drawn to the spine, and breathe out to lower. So we're getting that sense of length from top to toe, like a dart or an arrow. Because you've rolled your hips out, when you lengthen your legs, they might lift a few centimetres from the floor again, without changing the position of the pelvis. So you need to keep your core engaged. Breathing in as we come up and out as you lower. One more time. When you've done this last one, push yourself up into a kneeling position. Hands out in front of you. Take a breath in that cat curl position, pushing the floor away from underneath you. Breathe out as far back onto your heels as you can. If you find that's uncomfortable, bring the feet together and let the knees drop out, and just let your forehead drop to the ground. And just take a few deep breaths into the side and back of your body. You can rest your elbows on the floor. If you have any issues with the knees, you can put a cushion under your bottom and sit back onto the cushion. And just take a few deep breaths into the very side and the back of the ribs, because it's difficult to breathe into the front.
Then drop your sit bone right back onto your heels, straighten right up, bring yourself forward. Take one leg forward and straighten up. Now, naturally, we'll have taken probably our better leg forward. So, because we're trying to balance the body up, take the other leg forward, if this is okay. You can put your hand onto your thigh if you want, or curling the toes out behind you with your arms hanging by your side, finding a point above head height you keep your gaze on, take a deep breath in, and stand up straight. So that's your basic introduction to Pilates. So the next session we'll just advance this a little bit further. I hope you've enjoyed that. Have a little practice of it. Just check to make sure you're maintaining your alignment as you're moving, and I look forward to seeing you in the next session. Bye for now.